What is sociology? Sociology comes from the Latin word socius and the Greek word logos. Socius means social or being with others, and logos means study. Combining this together, we can come up with a simple definition for sociology, which is the study of social relationships. For example, this is a social relationship among teachers and students and students in different genders, students and the other communities, their interaction, how they react, and how they efficiently work together. What is education? Henslin in 2017 defines education as a formal system which engages in imparting knowledge to individuals, instilling morals and beliefs which are at par with those of the culture and society, and providing formal training for skills and development. Putting sociology and education definitions together, we can define educational sociology. Educational sociology is the discipline or field of study which deals with the institution of education and all the other factors related to it in society. It is also defined as the academic discipline which examines the ways in which individuals' experiences affect their educational achievement and outcomes. This is defined by Sir William in 2011. Sociologists study people who are in interacting and in small to large group situations. Within this broad general framework are many specialties. These can be divided into studies of institutions in society, established aspects of society that address common needs of people, studies of processes, and studies of interactions between individuals and groups, the structure of society, recurring patterns of behavior, and order interrelationships to achieve the needs of people is represented by six major institutions that constitute some of the major subject areas in sociology. Example: family, religion, education, politics, economics, and health. Formal complex organizations such as schools are part of the institutional structures that carry out the work of societies. Processes, the action part of society, bring the structures alive. Through the process of socialization, people learn how to fit into society and what roles are expected of them. The process of stratification determines where people fit into the social structure and their resultant lifestyle. Change is an ever present process that constantly forces schools and other organizations to adjust to new demands. Learning takes place both formally in school settings and informally by our family, peers, media, and other influences in our lives. Not all children in the world receive a formal school education, but they all experience processes that prepare them for adult roles. The institution of education interacts and is interdependent with each of other institutions. Sociology of education is a subject and devoted to understanding educational systems. The subject matter includes questions ranging from teacher and students' interactions to large educational systems of countries. By studying education systematically, sociologists offer insight to help guide policies for schools. Research on educational system is guided by sociological theories and studied using sociological methods. Maybe many of you have asked the question, why do you have to study sociology in education? Simply because being a student, teacher, and parent also have a lot of questions in mind, don't you? One of them are the children safe in school? Should minimum competency in key subjects such as reading and math be required for high school graduation? How should education be funded? What type of teachers and classroom environments provide the best learning experience for children? If parents are involved in their children's schooling, are children more successful in school? How effective are different teaching techniques, styles of learning, classroom organizations, and school and classroom size in teaching students of various types of abilities? What are some community influences on the school, and how do these affect decision making in schools, especially as it relates to the school curriculum and socialization of the young? Do teacher proficiency exams increase teaching quality? Can minority students learn better or more in integrated school? Do schools perpetuate inequality? Should religion be allowed in schools? What are the practices around the world? Those are just very few of the questions we have in mind. That's why we need to learn sociology in education. To learn deeper, let's dig the relationship between school and society. It is known to all that the relationship between school and society is very close and integral. We cannot think of a school without a society, and on the other hand, a society without a school. One without the other one does not carry any sense. We also know that programs in school must be planned and should be based on the social tradition and principles. So, curricular organization should be based on social needs and social experience of the learner. AKC Ottaway defines society as a whole range of social relationships of people living in a certain geographical territory and having a feeling of belonging to the same kind of group. In every society, whether developing or developed, complex or primitive, there is always an education system. Education systems are not the same as no two societies are identical. Therefore, education system in respect of their aims, contents and techniques differ from society to society. Educational institutions are micro societies which mirror the entire society. Therefore, societies try to evolve education systems and policies that would meet the needs, beliefs, attitudes, and the aspirations of their people. Havighurst in 1968 observed that the way to understand a society's education system is to understand how it is related to the other basic institutions of that society, in particular, the family, the church, mosque, the state, the polity, and economy. Each local school should be seen not only as an educational institution but also as a rich collection of specific resources which can be used for strengthening the social and economic fabric of the entire community. At the same time, educators must see their local community as active, strong, and full of assets. Successful communities come in all shapes and sizes, all economic levels, urban and rural, and they possess many assets which, once mobilized and connected, make community life rich and vibrant. The community environment in which a school is located has sets of pre existing complexities that school administrators must navigate. But once relationships are established and continually cultivated, these relationships support school recruitment, after school programming, student safety, parental involvement, and student achievement. Functionalism is a sociological theory that views society as an interconnected system. It examines how social institutions like education contribute to maintaining stability and order. This perspective emphasizes shared values, norms, and the roles of different parts of society. The theory analyzes education's functions in transmitting culture, integrating individuals, and allocating social roles. Functionalists argue that schools socialize students, promote cohesion and sort people into positions based on merit. However, critics say this view overlooks conflict and inequality. Origins of functionalism. Functionalism emerged as a major theoretical perspective in sociology in the early 20th century, seeking to understand how societies maintain stability and cohesion over time. Draws on the analogy of society as a living organism, with each part, which are social institutions, norms, values, serving a specific function to maintain the overall health and stability of the system. Developed in response to the rapid social changes of the Industrial Revolution and urbanization, which raised questions about how societies could maintain order and integration despite major shifts in social structure and organization. One of the founders of functionalism is Émile Durkheim. He's a French sociologist considered one of the founding fathers of functionalism. He argued that social facts or the norms, values, and structures of society exist independently of individuals and exert a coercive force on their behavior. He studied the division of labor in society, arguing that as societies become more complex and differentiated, they require new forms of social solidarity to maintain cohesion. He analyzed the social functions of religion, education, and other institutions in maintaining social order and integration. Another founder is Talcott Parsons. He's an American sociologist who developed a comprehensive functionalist theory of society known as structural functionalism. He argued that social systems are organized around four basic functions like adaptation, goal attainment, integration, and latency. He emphasized the importance of shared values and norms in maintaining social order and stability, which he called the central value system. He analyzed the role of socialization, particularly through the family and education, in transmitting shared values and norms across generations. Last but not the least is Robert Merton. He's an American sociologist who refined and expanded the functionalist theory, introducing key concepts such as manifest and latent functions, dysfunctions, and non-functions. The manifest functions are the intended and recognized consequences of a social practice or institution, while latent functions are the unintended and often unrecognized consequences. These functions are the negative or undesirable consequences of a social practice or institution, while non-functions are social patterns that have no significant consequences for the larger system. He emphasized the importance of empirical research in identifying the various functions and dysfunctions of social phenomena rather than relying solely on theoretical assumptions. Core assumptions. Functionalism rests on several key assumptions about the nature of society and social behavior. Society as interconnected system. Society is viewed as a complex system of interconnected parts like social institutions, norms, values, roles that work together to maintain the stability and functioning of the whole. Each part of the system serves a specific function in maintaining the overall equilibrium, and changes in one part of the system which have ripple effects through the entire system. Social institutions, family, education, religion, economy, government are analyzed in terms of their contributions to the maintenance of social order and stability. Social institutions' roles. Social institutions are seen as playing critical roles in maintaining the functioning and stability of society as a whole. The family serves the function of socializing children into the shared norms and values of society and providing them with the basic skills and knowledge needed to participate in social life. Education serves the function of transmitting culture, preparing individuals for adult roles, and allocating them into different positions in the social hierarchy. Religion serves the function of providing a sense of meaning and purpose, reinforcing social norms and values, and promoting social cohesion and solidarity. Shared values and norms. Functionalists emphasize the importance of shared values and norms in maintaining social order and stability. Values are the abstract ideals that define what is desirable and worth striving for in a society. Example, freedom, equality, individualism. While norms are the specific rules and expectations for behavior that flow from these values. The socialization process, particularly through the family and education, is seen as critical in transmitting these shared values and norms across generations and ensuring that individuals internalize them as part of their own identity and motivations. Social control mechanisms, example laws, sanctions, peer pressure, also play a role in enforcing conformity to shared norms and values and correcting deviant behavior that threatens social order. Functionalist view of education. Functionalists analyze the education system in terms of its contributions to the maintenance of social order and stability, emphasizing its role in socialization, social integration, and role allocation. Transmission of culture. One of the primary functions of education is to transmit the culture of society, including its values, norms, knowledge, and skills to the next generation. Through the formal curriculum and hidden curriculum, schools socialize children into the dominant culture and teach them the skills and dispositions needed to participate in social life. This process of cultural transmission helps to ensure continuity and stability across generations, as well as a sense of shared identity and purpose among members of a society. Social integration. Education also serves the function of integrating individuals into the larger society and promoting social cohesion and solidarity. By bringing together students from diverse backgrounds and exposing them to a common curriculum and set of experiences, schools help to create a sense of shared identity and values. Extracurricular activities such as sports, teams, and clubs also provide opportunities for social bonding and the development of social skills and networks. This process of social integration helps to reduce social tensions and conflicts and to create a sense of unity and purpose within a society. Role allocation. Another key function of education is to allocate individuals into different roles and positions within the social hierarchy based on their abilities and achievements. Through tracking, testing, and credentialing, schools sort and select students into different educational and occupational paths, which in turn shape their future life chances and social status. This process of role allocation helps to match individuals with the roles and positions that best suit their abilities and interests, and to ensure that the most talented and capable individuals rise to positions of leadership and authority. From a functionalist perspective, this meritocratic process helps to ensure that the most qualified individuals are placed in the most important roles, thereby contributing to the overall efficiency and effectiveness of the social system. Meritocracy. Functionalists argue that education serves as a meritocratic institution that rewards individuals based on their abilities and achievements rather than their social background or status. By providing equal opportunities for all students to succeed based on their own merits, schools help to create a sense of fairness and legitimacy in the allocation of social rewards and positions. This meritocratic ideal is seen as essential for maintaining social order and stability, as it encompasses individuals to strive for success and to accept their place in the social hierarchy as a reflection of their own efforts and abilities. However, critics argue that the meritocratic ideal is often undermined by structural inequalities and biases within the education system, which reproduce and legitimize existing social hierarchies and disadvantages. Criticisms of functionalism. While functionalism has been a dominant theoretical perspective in sociology, it has also been subject to a range of criticisms and challenges from other perspectives. Number 1. Overemphasis on consensus. Functionalists have been criticized for overemphasizing the degree of consensus and stability in society and for neglecting the role of conflict, power, and inequality in shaping social relations. Critics argue that functionalists assume a level of value, consensus, and social integration that may not exist in reality, particularly in diverse and stratified societies. By focusing on the ways in which social institutions and practices maintain order and stability, functionalists may overlook the ways in which they also generate tension, conflict, and change. Number two, neglect of conflict and change. Related to the overemphasis on consensus, functionalists have been criticized for neglecting the role of conflict and change in social life. While functionalists recognize that societies do change over time, they tend to view change as a gradual and evolutionary process that occurs in response to external pressures or internal strains rather than as a result of internal contradictions or conflicts. Critics argue that functionalists underestimate the importance of social movements, revolutions, and other forms of collective action in driving social change and transformation. Number three, justification of status quo. Functionalists have also been criticized for providing a justification for the status quo and for legitimizing existing social inequalities and power structures. By emphasizing the positive functions of social institutions and practices, and by viewing them as necessary for the maintenance of social order and stability, functionalists may inadvertently provide a rationale for their continued existence even when they are oppressive or unjust. Critics argue that functionalism serves as an ideology that supports the interests of dominant groups and legitimizes their power and privilege, while obscuring the ways in which social institutions and practices also serve to reproduce and reinforce social inequalities. Contemporary applications. Despite its critics, functionalism continues to be a relevant and influential perspective in contemporary sociology, particularly in the study of education and other social institutions. Number one, educational reform debates. Functionalist ideas have been influential in debates over educational reform and policy, particularly in discussions of the role of education in promoting social mobility and meritocracy. Functionalists argue that education serves an important role in allocating individuals into different social roles and positions based on their abilities and achievements, and that reforms should focus on improving the efficiency and effectiveness of this process. However, critics argue that functionalist assumptions about the meritocratic nature of education often overlook the ways in which schools reproduce and legitimize existing social inequalities, and that reform should focus on addressing these structural barriers to equality and opportunity. Number two, comparative education systems. Functionalist perspectives have also been applied to the comparative study of education systems across different societies and cultures. By analyzing the ways in which education systems are structured and organized in different contexts, functionalists seek to understand how they contribute to the maintenance of social order and stability and how they reflect and reinforce dominant culture values and norms. Comparative studies of education systems can also highlight the ways in which different societies prioritize different functions of education, like cultural transmission, social integration, role allocation, and how these priorities shape educational policies and practices. However, critics argue that functionalist analysis of education system often overlook the ways in which they are shaped in historical, political, and economic factors, and that a more critical and contextualized approach is needed to fully understand their social significance and effect. Critical theory in education. The critical theory of the Frankfurt School and other global critical theories prove crucial to educational reform and can be used to revolutionize today's schools toward a more just, humanizing, and democratic system. First of all, the ways in which critical theory challenges positivist rationality that assumes political neutrality in educational spaces is invaluable to opening a space for educators to recognize the hidden curricula of current standardized schooling. Second, critical theory values historical consciousness as fundamental to engaging in critical thought and critical literacy. Recognizing the socio-historical framework in which knowledge is produced and the pedagogical tools used by teachers in today's schools prove essential not only to the constructing what students are learning, but also how students are learning. Third, engaging in historical consciousness through critical theory in education simultaneously forces us to remediate the ways in which educators and administrators of schools view race, class, gender, language, sexuality, and culture. Critical theory perspectives allow for people to engage in an informed critique toward reforming education so that it treats each student with respect toward the fund of knowledge and perspectives from which he or she comes without essentializing or reifying his or her experiences. Fourth, critical theory can be usefully applied to education through the use of dialectical thought and praxis, which pauses teachers and students alike to actively use social inquiry to question oppressive, dominant structures in society while moving toward a more liberatory practice. Fifth, critical theory in education believes in the power of schooling as a tool for social justice by engaging in the needs of students' home communities. Thus, using critical theory not only as a means of meaning making, but also as a means of connecting diverse students and teachers to each other in shared practices through education can build a new community of learners who can change the world. Critical theory pushes educators and educational researchers to rethink the power dynamics that both influence and work within school systems, and as explored by Antonio Gramsci, 1891 to 1937, who believed that all humans were capable of intellectual and rational faculties. Critical theory can help us recognize the ways in which education, similar to media, is an ideological apparatus of the state that reproduces the hegemony of those in control. Thus, educational researchers can find agency through critical theory to engage in social inquiry that transforms the space of schools, the practice of teachers, the treatment of students, the sharing of diverse knowledge, and the improvement of society at large. The field of education is often analyzed through various sociological lenses, each offering unique insights into the ways schools and learning environments shape individuals and societies. Symbolic interactionalism, a micro level sociological perspective, focuses on the everyday interactions, symbols, and meanings that influence human behavior. This approach provides valuable insights into how education functions as a social institution, emphasizing the roles of interpersonal dynamics, communication, and shared understandings. The foundations of symbolic interactionism. Symbolic interactionism is rooted in the works of George Herbert Mead and Herbert Bloomer, emphasizing the role of symbols and interactions in shaping behavior and societal structures. This perspective asserts that human behavior is influenced by the meanings individuals attribute to objects, events, and interactions. These meanings are not static but are continually negotiated and interpreted through social interactions. In education, these principles highlight how students, teachers, and administrators construct and navigate shared meanings. For instance, a grade. A grade is not merely a letter or number. It represents achievement, potential, and societal expectations, all of which are influenced by individual interpretation. Symbols and meaning in the educational context. Symbols in education are pervasive and influential. Grades, diplomas, uniforms, and classroom arrangements all carry significant meanings. Consider the following examples. Number one, grades and assessments. Grades and assessments extend far beyond their function as measures of academic performance. They symbolize societal values such as meritocracy, discipline, and intelligence, reflecting broader cultural attitudes toward success and achievement. A high grade often becomes a symbol of competence and diligence, eliciting pride and reinforcing positive self concepts in students. Conversely, a low grade can carry the symbolic weight of failure, potentially leading to feelings of inadequacy of disengagement. These dynamics are not merely personal, they are deeply embedded in social context. Teachers may interpret high grades as a sign of effective teaching, while parents often see them as indicators of future prospects. For students, grades can become a central part of their identity, influencing their aspirations and how they are perceived by peers. Number two, school traditions and rituals. School traditions and rituals serve as powerful symbols that reinforce community, continuity, and shared purpose. Graduation ceremonies, for example, are not merely celebratory events. They mark significant transitions and symbolize achievement, perseverance, and readiness for the future. Similarly, events like sports days or annual assemblies strengthen communal bonds by creating shared experiences and emphasizing collective values. These rituals also serve to communicate the institution's ideals, discipline, teamwork, and excellence to students. The symbolic power of these traditions lies in their ability to embed institutional values into the consciousness of participants, shaping how they view their roles within the broader community. Number three, classroom dynamics. The dynamics within a classroom are a rich tapestry of symbolic interactions that shape the learning experience. Seating arrangements, for instance, are often laden with implicit messages about hierarchy and authority. A teacher's positioning at the front of the room symbolizes control and expertise, while students seated in the back may be perceived or perceive themselves as less engaged. Similarly, the tone and language used by a teacher convey expectations and respect, significantly impacting students' self-esteem and motivation. Even the use of physical space and materials such as whiteboards or digital tools carry symbolic meanings about modernity, accessibility, and pedagogical priorities. These subtle yet powerful symbols influence not only engagement but also the ways students perceive their relationship to the educational process. Teacher student relationships. The interactions between teachers and students are a cornerstone of symbolic interactionism in education. Teachers are not merely facilitators of knowledge, but active participants in shaping the academic and personal identities of their students. Through everyday interactions, they communicate expectations, assign roles, and influence how students perceive themselves within the educational environment. The impact of labeling. Labeling is a significant mechanism through which teachers influence students' trajectories. When teachers assign labels based on perceived abilities, behaviors, or social cultural backgrounds, these labels carry lasting implications. For example, a student labeled as gifted may experience a boost in confidence and motivation, and this label is often accompanied by higher expectations and enriched learning opportunities. On the other hand, a label such as troubled or lazy can stigmatize a student, leading to marginalization, reduced effort, and diminished self worth. These labels act as symbols that students internalize, becoming part of their identity. Over time, students may begin to behave in ways that align with these labels, whether positive or negative. For example, a gifted student may strive to meet high expectations, reinforcing the label, while a troubled student might disengage from learning, fulfilling the negative assumptions associated with the label. The self fulfilling prophecy. The concept of the self fulfilling prophecy illustrates the profound impact of teacher expectations on student outcomes. When teachers hold high expectations for certain students, they are more likely to offer encouragement, provide additional support, and create opportunities for success. This positive reinforcement often leads students to perform in ways that confirm the teacher's initial expectations, creating a cycle of achievement and recognition. Conversely, low expectations can have the opposite effect. Teachers might unconsciously reduce their investment in students they perceive as less capable, offering fewer opportunities for engagement and growth. These students, sensing the lowered expectations, may disengage, underperform, or internalize a sense of inadequacy. The interplay between expectation and behavior highlights the critical role of symbolic interactions in shaping educational experiences. The symbolic nature of feedback. Feedback, whether verbal or nonverbal, is a powerful tool in the teacher student relationship. Praise, constructive criticism, or even body language serves as a form of symbolic communication that conveys value, competence, and belonging. A teacher's positive feedback can inspire students to take risks and pursue challenges, while negative or dismissive feedback can discourage participation and diminish confidence. For example, a teacher's enthusiastic acknowledgement of a student's effort can reinforce the symbolic value of hard work, encouraging perseverance. Conversely, a lack of recognition may lead a student to question their abilities or disengage from the learning process. By understanding the symbolic weight of their interactions, teachers can foster environments that support growth and inclusivity.